Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good day in whatever country you're joining us from. It is an honor to be here and to give a talk um, to whoever is listening. Thank you so much. My name is Kanu Boluwatife. I am the head visionary of Jesus Freaks Global, which is a movement geared towards empowering young people and helping them find their place in destiny. Also, I'm an architect by profession, and I am a leader in every sense of the word. And I'm going to be talking today about communication skills for leaders. And this is a very, 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 very interesting subject, in my opinion, because especially amongst African youth, amongst young people in Africa, it is essentially fundamental that we get it right in the area of leadership. Now, a dear mentor of mine, John C. Maxwell, said something, and I quote, he said, "Everything rises and falls on leadership," which is really, really profound and true if you think about it, because the genesis of the success or the failure of any association, any group, any movement, anything at all, any people, any family, rises and falls on leadership. So we're going to be having a very interesting time today, talking about communication skills for leaders. And I am sure you'll learn a few things that will be really, really impactful and beneficial to you as a person and in whatever leadership capacity you're functioning in, to actually spur, motivate, inspire, and develop others towards achieving their goals and towards the common goal of your organization or your people. Now, I was opportune to read a book some years back titled "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie. And something was really, really interesting about that book. I read in a part of the book where Dale Carnegie was telling a story about this phenomenal young man, Charles M. Schwab. Now, what was remarkable about Charles M. Schwab was that at the age of 38, Charles M. Schwab was the highest paid employee in the whole of the US. He was, as a matter of fact, the first person to ever earn a salary of over $1 million in the United States. And this was in the Industrial Revolution era, where steel was really, really profound. He was the president. He was appointed the president of the newly formed US Steel Company by Andrew Carnegie, and he was paid over $1 million in salary. Now, interviewers interviewed this young man, Charles M. Schwab, and they asked him, what would you say is the secret of this remarkable feat, this remarkable results? And he said to them that he's not the best at steel. He's not the most knowledgeable when it comes to steel or even the prowess, the know-abouts concerning steel and its production process and all of these things. And they said, okay, so if you're not the most proficient in this area, what would you then say is the reason why you're paid so much? And he said one thing. He's paid so much because of his ability to handle people, his ability to handle people. Now, I'll start my teaching with on the basis, on the back of this story. You see, a leader is someone that has the ability, simply put, a leader is someone who can lead, who leads people. So in whatever capacity you're functioning as, you may be an elder brother, you may be the only child, you may be an employee, you may be a CEO, you may be a marketer, whatever capacity, a pastor, a religious leader, or anything. Any of these capacities you find yourself functioning in, you're a leader. As long as you lead people, you're a leader. But simply put, a leader is someone that inspires, motivates people to achieving a particular goal or a vision. So in the subject of leadership, one very vital way to achieve this goal or this vision or whatever the leadership is meant for is a good understanding of communication. Communication. Without communication, leadership is a myth. Effective leadership starts from effective communication, and that's why we're examining the subject of communication skills for leaders. Now, someone may ask a question, why do I need to communicate as a leader? Why do I need to even know how to communicate as a leader? Because you see, the thing about leadership is in our world today, we have more rulers, we have more managers than leaders. A leader is not someone that rules over a people. A leader is someone that inspires others to become like them. And so if there is inspiration in leadership, if there is motivation, then there has to be communication. The only way for you to catch a vision is when the vision is being communicated effectively. And so communication skills rank one, according to research, communication skills rank the topmost skills for effective leadership, the topmost skills every leader must possess to be effective. Now, I'm going to talk about a few communication skills. I have quite a number of them to talk about, but for the sake of this discourse, I'm going to limit myself to 3 communication skills. I mean, there are a lot of them. We can go on, and I believe that for everyone, for you listening or for you watching this is most likely not your first time getting to hear about communication skills or getting to learn about these things. And a lot has been said and a lot is out there for you to learn. But I'm going to, for the sake of this discourse, base my entire talk on 3 skills that I believe every leader should possess, especially for Africans. I am particularly interested, I'm particularly concerned about Africa as a people because I'm an African, I'm a Nigerian, and I know that one of the major setbacks we have as a continent, as a people, is a byproduct of bad leadership over the years, several nations. Why it seems like the Western world is superior in a lot of ways to Africans, it's not necessarily because they have anything more superior than we do, but it's because they have an understanding, the right understanding of some of these skills that ensure productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness in whatever they do. And one of these secrets is communication skills. So as we tag along, we're going to have fun and we're going to learn 1 or 2 things that will make us effective leaders in whatever respect. Now, first thing I'm going to talk about is active listening. Active listening. Now, I often say this, and I think I'm going to say it here as well, that if you talk brilliantly always, you will always get good audience. If you have very good skills in talking, public speaking, giving speeches, communications, and all of these things, a man that talks brilliantly always has good audience. But a man that is a good listener always gets good followers. The subject of leadership will be incomplete if you don't possess the ability to listen effectively. Active listening is one of the top skills every leader must possess to be able to truly inspire and motivate people. Someone said something and said, why the human system is designed in such a way whereby we have just 1 mouth and 2 ears is because that in the design of the human body, you're made to, or you were meant to listen more than you speak. And so for every leader, it is good to listen. It's good to speak, rather. It's good to give good speeches. It's good to always do the talking. It's good to always inspire people by your words. But as good as that is, it is important to have good listening skills. Now, someone may say listening doesn't require any skill. I mean, you can just sit down and just hear what people are saying. No, there's a fundamental difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is a default setting where hearing is something you can't control, but you can control listening. Hearing is a natural sensing. It's part of your natural senses. But listening is a skill that must be developed. Now, when I speak to you as you're on this channel or whatever platform you're listening or you're getting to watch me, as I am speaking, whether you like it or not, you will be hearing me. But your ability to listen is a skill that you must actively and consciously engage in. So nobody listens by default. Listening is an active skill. It's something you must decide intentionally to cultivate. Now, what can help you in active listening? For instance, for a good leader, you must develop the ability to settle down and pay attention to what your followers are saying. Because no man is an island of himself. And I think this is one problem we have in Africa, especially with the leaders of the older generation. Leaders in Africa rarely get to listen to what the people say. And that's why we have bad leadership. Because in leadership, communication is two-way. When you talk, you listen, and that's how you get effective communication. There's no communication by just speaking alone. So as a leader, you must understand or you must develop the ability to ask open-ended questions. This is one way to listening, because listening is a skill. It's not just hearing alone. You must develop the ability to ask open-ended questions. Questions like, what do you think about this? Or what's your opinion on this? Or how would you define this? Or if you're given the opportunity to do this, what would you do? Now, the ability to actively ask these questions regularly makes you a good listener. The people's input is as important as every idea you bring. So leadership is not imposing your thoughts. Leadership is not imposing your ideas, your values, your character on people alone. You must develop the ability to listen, to actively listen. And one way you can do this, like I said, is by always asking open-ended questions, getting to hear people's opinions, people's philosophies, people's takes on different views, your followers. And this helps you gain a holistic perspective on how to deal with issues. Another way to be an effective listener or to actively listen is by asking for feedback. As leaders, you must be interested in getting feedback from the people you're leading. You must be interested in getting to know what they think about your choices, your decisions, the organization, the philosophies, and all of these things. A research was done in Africa amongst quite a number of young children. And what was realized, certain questions or a survey was done, and they realized that quite a number of children within the age of 10 to about 25 complained that one disconnection they had with their parents is that their parents rarely ever get to listen to them. rarely ever get their feedback, their takes on issues. And this is a major problem in Africa because we have a system of leadership, even from the home, that tells you not to want to or that makes people not to want to express their views or just verbatim assimilate anything that is being fed to them. No, as a leader, you must get feedback. You must seek for feedback. You must seek for feedback. You must ask the kind of questions that matter. You must have a system where people get to say their opinions, or people get to speak their minds, or get to air their views in that system of leadership. Then and only then would you be able to actually understand what you're doing, or understand the growth, the process. It will help you to track growth. It will help you to make people confident in themselves, and it will help you produce results. Now I'm going to go to the next valuable skill I think would help every one of us in effective leadership. The next thing I'm going to talk about is transparency. Transparency. What's transparency? A survey done by American Management Association suggested that 1/3, or revealed rather, that 1/3 of senior managers, executives, and employees say that they don't know what is going on in their organization. Now, this means that a survey was done where senior managers, executives, employees, workers, they were put together, and they conducted the survey and realized that most of these people said they don't know what's going on in their organizations. This was in America. You can imagine how severe it would be in Africa. Why? Because a system of transparency eliminates this problem. This problem of not knowing what is happening, by simply inculcating the skill of transparency, a leader is able to eliminate this problem. Now, what's transparency? Transparency involves a leader's ability to be open about visions, objectives, goals, day-to-day operations, and flaws, results, and all of these things. A leader must possess the ability to be open. You can't have followers and always try to want to conceal a lot of things from them. Now, while we're talking about transparency, permit me at this point to strike a delicate balance. I am well aware that in leadership, there are certain things that must not be told, especially to the general public or to your general employee, but certain other things must be spelled out accurately. Now, many people don't feel like they are part of the group, the vision, the family, the church, the mosque, the religious organizations. Why? Because the leaders are not transparent enough. Transparency makes people feel like they are part of this thing. For a leader, it is crucially and deftly important that you're transparent. Make people to feel like they belong. This is one way to communicate effectively. Let your words, let your actions, let your opinions, let your views carry people along. You must learn the art of engaging people. When people feel like they are part of something, they are committed to give their all towards that cause. You realize that in groups or in associations where people don't feel carried along, they are not as effective as they should be. So as leaders, you must carry people along. You must make them feel like part of the vision. You must openly talk about One other thing that helps people, that leaders need to develop in this area of transparency, is the ability to speak openly about their shortcomings. In Africa, most of our leaders are seemingly perfect. And I'm not talking about politically, it's a general mindset where people try to portray themselves as possessing no flaws or very minimal flaws. No, as a leader, your ability to speak about your flaws, your shortcomings openly makes your followers have a sense of transparency. Every leader must be able to communicate effectively your shortcomings, your flaws, the things that you think you didn't get correctly. This helps you so much in gaining effective followership from your followers. Now, I'm also going to talk about something in the aspect of transparency. A leader must not portray himself as absolute. You must be transparent enough to admit that you have flaws and shortcomings. Okay, now the third thing I'm going to be speaking about in leadership, and this will be the final thing, is emotional intelligence. What's emotional intelligence? 90% of top performers rather in the USA have attested to the fact that the number one skill required to be a top performer, to be a top level performer, is emotional intelligence. One highly sought after skill in our world today is emotional intelligence. Now, what's emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and effectively manage your emotions and those of others. It's your ability to understand and effectively manage your emotions and the emotions of others. Why is this important? The story I told of a man named Charles M. Schwab, who was the first man or the first employee to earn over $1 million in salary in the history of the United States, or one of the first anyway. One major skill this man possessed that made him stand out is emotional intelligence. The ability to understand, first of all, then manage your emotions and the emotions of others. Quite a number of people fall short in this area, and that's why it is difficult to stand out as an effective leader, because people don't possess emotional intelligence. Let me say this to us. Young people, and I mean, generally people of all kinds of age and social strata, your skill sets, your technical abilities, your gifts, and all of these things will take you so far in life, which is very correct. But emotional intelligence will help you bring out the best in others. In leadership, it is not about you. The goal of leadership is to raise followers that eventually become leaders. And why the system of posterity has a downside in quite a number of organizations, or in quite a number of settings in Africa, is because most leaders don't possess emotional intelligence. Even in families, for instance, why you can see a very outstanding father, a very remarkable dad that is of so much repute in the society, producing producing children that look nothing like that person, that father, is because quite a number of fathers don't understand emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you. It helps you understand how to effectively generate the ability to relate to the emotions of people, understand them at what point they are. You see, humans are natural emotional beings by default. And so one way to capture a person is to get his emotions. Most people don't function by logic. Most people function by emotions, meaning a person's emotional attachment to a thing makes the person most likely to participate or to give a lot to that cause. And so for leaders, you must understand how to effectively manage people's emotions. Now, what are some of the skills you would need in emotional, or what are some of the skills you would generally need as regards emotional intelligence? Number one is self-awareness. A leader must be self-aware. You must know about yourself, your emotions, your ideologies, your philosophies, your convictions, and all of these things. A person that has not understood himself cannot understand others. And so it starts with understanding yourself. What's my temperament type? What's my personality type? What kind of person am I? What things do I like? What are my dislikes? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the areas that I probably need to improve, and all of these things. Now, for a leader, you must sustain the fortitude and the humility to ask yourself all of these vital questions and to naturally generate these things and be self-aware about these things. Because you see, you can't help someone when you yourself, you're not helped. You must understand yourself, and it gives you an edge in relating to others. For instance, if I am a very vocal person, or if I'm an outspoken person, and I have followers that are timid or something, my ability to understand myself helps me to learn how to communicate with these people. Secondly, I'm going to talk about self-regulation. Self-regulation is your ability to control, after being aware of yourself, your ability to control yourself, control your emotions, to regulate, to be able to put those things under control is a vital communication skill. It's important that you build yourself. You know how to control your extremities. For instance, your emotions, to control yourself, to control the extremes. You know, for someone that is very temperamental, it's necessary for a leader to understand how to put a check on these things. And some of the ways to understand self-regulation is by writing down things. Writing down things. You must understand that as a leader, you must not act the way you feel also. Apart from just writing down how you feel, you must understand that you must not act the way you feel. So feelings are normal and feelings are temporal. If you feel like scolding people, sometimes people get on your last nerve and you feel like tearing them apart. It is just a feeling. Feelings must not translate to action. So you mustn't act the way you feel. Also, you must learn to be calm as a leader. Learn to take a pause sometimes. Don't always be reactive. As a leader, you must understand how to be calm, how to pause. You must not answer everything. You must not reply every mail in that moment. You must not give every talk in that moment. You could pause and understand how to regulate your emotions. Now, the third thing I'm going to talk about is empathy. Empathy is ranked the top leadership skill required by a global consulting firm called DDI. They ranked empathy the top leadership skill, the number one leadership skill every leader must possess. Forget about effective communication without empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is the ability, it's your ability to understand people's experiences and emotions. As a leader, you must effectively understand people's experiences and emotions. It will take you sometimes to try to come to the level of these people so that you can relate with what they go through, their experiences and their emotions, how they feel about things. How people feel about things is empathy. Empathy is naturally or fundamentally different from sympathy. Empathy is not just pity. Empathy is the ability to understand, truly understand, and relate to people's experiences and emotions. As a leader, you must know what your people are going through. You must know how they feel about what they're going through. And so, empathy is very, very essential in communication. It's what makes you an effective leader, an effective communicator. Now, in empathy, it will require you having one-on-one sessions with people. We've talked about actively listening. It will require you having or setting up a structure where you can truly understand what people go through. Sometimes it will require you visiting your followers, relating to the vicissitudes surrounding their lives at every given moment. So, with all of these skills, in conclusion, I would say that for African leaders, for African youth, we must sustain the ability to lead not just from the top, but from the bottom. And it doesn't matter if you're not the CEO of your company or if you're not the person at the forefront and all of that. Leadership is not positional. Leadership is not, it wasn't designed to be positional. Leadership can be from any point. There are certain firms where the true leader of that firm is not the boss. And so when we talk about leadership, we're not just saying you must own a company, you must run in this, all of that. Even in your homes, it starts, there's a popular saying that says charity begins at home. So a recap of the things I've shared is, number one, you must sustain the ability to actively listen. You must be an active listener. Number two, you must understand how to be transparent. Number three, you must possess emotional intelligence. Now, if you possess these skills, I assure you, your leadership system, your leadership style or structure will take a different turn. This talk was brought to you by 3D Africa Youth. 3D Africa Youth Organization is a platform that helps the African leader to build himself and to be an effective member of the society. The goal is for every one of us to work together to achieve greatness, influence our communities, and do so many remarkable things with each other, focusing on youth leadership and development. So thank you very much for giving me your audience, and I hope you've learned one or two things that will help you become an effective leader. Thank you, and God bless.